channel. Today we're doing something a little bit interesting and heavily requested by quite a few people actually, and I've been wanting to do it for a while, ever since I made the guide, ever since I did the streams, but I don't have the software to be able to do that, and I don't think people realize how difficult it is to kind of put it together without a computer. Um, but I am going to, for the sake of doing what the people want, and that's what I'm all about, I am going to attempt to do it now. Yesterday, I compiled a bunch of notes from this build guide. This is the build guide. And kind of put them into notes so I can read back sort of what everything was, and do my best to explain how the build guide works. To videos and little clips on the build guide so you kind of see what it's all about. I will show you towards the end of that what this build can do. But just, bear with me. So, we start off at level 1. When you arrive on the beach and excited to start this new crazy build, which in my opinion is the best Lightning Monk build, pure Lightning Monk build on YouTube. That is why I gave it the name. And I think it lives up to the hype. So among falling on the beach, you're going to run around and find your first chest while clearing through the first wave enemies. And you're going to grab Falling Thunder. Now, personally, I didn't use Falling Thunder. I think it's kind of useless without power gems and power charges, and you're not going to get power charges, especially not early in the game, without Shattering Palm, which we aren't going to be getting. So I use the normal attack pretty much until you go to the Clearfell encampment, you find the Miller, and you defeat him. He drops a skill gem. I pick up Glacial Cascade. Now, I know Lightning Monk, but we don't have access to any lightning skills that are really going to do anything outside of Falling Thunder, which I've already explained doesn't do anything. So, Glacial Cascade is going to be your perfect ranged attack for when you want to stay away from enemies and don't want them to hit you, but you want to hit them. And Glacial Cascade is nice because it's sort of the further you are away from the enemy to a certain degree is the most, like, you're going to do the most damage because the spike kicks up at the end that does the most damage. Now, with that, you're going to clear through Clearfell, or you're going to go through the actual camp and then do what you need to do, and then go into Clearfell itself. From there, you want to try and find the abandoned camp, and you're going to get another skill gem from the chest there, and you're going to pick up Frozen Locust. Now, Frozen Locust is your distance tool. With Glacial Cascade, you need to gain distance from your enemies to do real damage, and with Frozen Locust you can, because you launch back, you place the Locust on the ground, and enemies will kind of draw to it. They don't really aggro you when the Locust is on the ground, which I kind of like. And then obviously, if they break the Locust, they freeze. If you break the Locust, they freeze. I don't think you can attack the Locust with Glacial Cascade. I never really tried. I thought it was kind of niche. But it could work. I usually just use the mace, the basic quarterstaff attack, and just hit it. And it will take a couple hits near the start until you get a good quarterstaff, and then once you're one-tapping them, you can kind of just Frozen Locust, one-tap, quarterstaff the map away. Speaking of, after you've done the after you've gone and got the Frozen Locust, you're going to want to go to the Ice Witch, which is the, not a boss, but a mini-boss for this area. Just using Glacial Cascade and keeping your distance away from her, and then when she spawns the wolves, you kind of want to use the Frozen Locust to split them up and then take them out. Once she's dead, you get a permanent 10% fire resistance buff, which is quite nice. You go and head to the Mudbearer. Now, a little caveat, you can, if you don't care about maximizing your levels like I did, you can just go straight to the Mudbearer, but for the sake of making it easier, easier than it is, on the next stages of the game, I recommend clearing out everything, getting as much XP as you can, and potentially getting some new gear that you can also use and upgrade. In the streams, I had like a bunch of currency. I currently have quite a lot of currency because I was getting divine orbs like crazy for a while. Obviously, it doesn't matter too much. It's just speeding up your progress towards that crazy stage. If you and money to spare, and you don't mind just power washing through the first stages of the game, the first acts, go nuts. I mean, that's what this build is all about. It's not about structure and keeping completely to or close to the belt. It's doing what you want to do, what feels great, using my build as sort of a guideline towards what you can do. And I kind of show that in the streams in terms of experimenting and the perk tree. Perk tree is all over the place, and I fixed it many times off camera and through the streams to get to where it is now. And obviously I will get to that at the end. I'll kind of explain where I went through different stages, but yeah. Anyway, after you go into the Mudbearer, you'll kill the Devourer, and you'll get a skill gem 2, I believe, from the Devourer that you'll use to upgrade the Frozen Locust. Now, you can upgrade the Glacial Cascade with that skill gem. I found the Frozen Locust to be a bit more useful in terms of versatility when I was fighting in the earlier stages, just because it draws aggro away. And Glacial Cascade does enough damage as it is. It also does more freeze build-up with the higher level you have, so you kind of want to get that up. After you kill the Devourer, you want to head back to town, and to clear up any confusion, when I say town in this video, any time it means back to the safe area, the place with all the vendors. Wherever you are in the current map, town is that. I know it's not always particularly town. And you want to head back to town and grab the support gem from Renly. Now, I didn't really cover support gems too much in my notes, just because it's kind of personal preference to a degree. And in terms of skill gems, there's not a set time on when you get skill gems outside of boss battles. Like, you will pick them up through chests, through random mobs, through random anything, really. You can pick them up under a rock. So it is kind of difficult to gauge where to tell you to grab certain perks. I just say, in terms of quarterstaff abilities, you want to get rapid strikes as soon as possible, and you want to get elemental armament. Now, I know elemental armament won't seem like it's doing a lot early game, but it is one of the driving forces for doing a lot of damage. I know it doesn't say that there, but it does. Anyway, from there, you want to go to the Grellwood, which is on the far right-hand side of the Clearfell area, and you want to enter the Grellwood. After that, you want to look for the checkpoint in the Grellwood as fast as possible, just so you've got a constant travel point between all the other areas. And it's obviously what you need to progress the main story in terms of freeing... in terms of kind of just, progressing. That's really all I can say about that. For those who've played, you know what I'm talking about. For those who don't, you'll understand. And then after you find the waypoint, you kind of just want to look around the Grailwood for a while. There are a few things that you need to do inside the Grailwood, and that would include going to the Witch's Hut, which includes a mini-boss battle that, when killed, drops upgraded flasks that you'll need to take because they're better than the ones that you've currently got. And that's also one of those other things that I don't really talk about. Upgrade your flasks as much as possible. If you find that your flasks aren't doing enough of their job, upgrade as much as possible, whether that be trading on the trade market, whether that be vendors, whether that be just going out and finding them, crafting them yourself, whatever you need to do. I can't stress it enough. Flasks are everything, especially early game, until you get everything set up. And then you want to try and find the Grailwood boss. Now that is a plant boss that can be kind of daunting to newer players. The only tip I can really give you is avoid the giant purple spiky plants. Especially early game, they will absolutely wreck you up. Other than that, just using the Frozen Locust and Quarterstaff attacks, and then when the monster gets heavy stunned, which is the orange bar at the bottom of their health bar, when that goes full and they like stumble backwards, hammer into them as much as you can, because they won't attack, and you do a bit more damage, I believe. And then it should go down pretty quickly. It went down pretty quickly for me, although I am a veteran, so I kind of know what to look out for. You'll get it pretty easily. After the boss is killed, you get a skill gem that you can put into Glacial Cascade, and now you've got 2 level 2 skills. Don't worry about upgrading the Quarterstaff attack, it manually upgrades as you progress. And from there you would have find the Grimtangle waypoint, which is you'll find it along the Grailwood area. It looks like a mushroom kind of grove, and going past it and finding the area isn't enough. You got to actually go in and then make sure you get the waypoint and then come back out. That just allows you to be able to fast travel from the next area, and you don't have to go through the Grailwood again to find it, because within a certain time frame, and for newer players it will reset. I think it's 15 minutes or so in one area that you're not in it, and it will reset. Just grabbing the waypoint allows you to instantly fast travel and not have to find it, because when the instance does reset, it does change the locations, usually, of everything in said area. But if you grab the waypoint when you're going through initially, you won't have to worry. Anyway, when you come back out, you want to find the Red Veil. That is the next area you want to go through, and it is off one of the sides of the map. Don't bother looking in the middle. If you want the quickest way, look around the entire outside of the map. You'll eventually find it. I found it in the bottom left-hand side. I don't know if that's like it's set in stone where it spawns, or if it is random. I know some areas of the game are set, but I'm not sure if that's one of them. Anyway, when you go into the Red Veil, you're going to find these obelisks around the place. You're going to want to kill them. When you activate them, a bunch of mobs will spawn, so if you're new or you aren't confident in your ability to fight, you want to clear the mobs around the area first before activating the obelisk, and then activating it, killing all the mobs, and it will drop a rune. You want to pick up any green thing that drops. You want to pick up, because it is a story item, quest item, and you'll need 3 of those. So if you're holding onto a bunch of stuff and your inventory is full, consider going back to town and selling off a bunch of things, or chucking things in your stash if you don't want to lose them. And then obviously putting the runes in a spot in your inventory, because once they're in your inventory, they can't get out of your inventory until you use them for the quest. So that's fine. Anyway, you're gonna find 3 of those obelisks, and once you clear all 3 of them, once you clear 2 of them, the third one isn't gonna spawn a bunch of enemies. It's gonna spawn the boss, the Rust Lord, Rust King, Rust Lord, one of the two. And he's got a couple attacks that you kind of want to look out for. The real only advice I can give you is stick close to him. Like, try and attack him with your quarterstaff as much as possible. Heavy stun him, go after him. Simple boss mechanic stuff. When you see him charge up an attack and lock onto you and a bunch of swords kind of surround you, you kind of want to get out of the way of those, because if you are low level or you don't dodge roll them, you're gonna probably die to them. But anyway, after he is defeated, you'll get a level 3 skill gem that you can put into the Tempest Bell. Now the Tempest Bell, early game, is absolutely insane. Late game it's great for bosses, but we don't need it. But yeah, that is your boss killer, essentially. So what the Tempest Bell does, for those who don't care about reading or are new to the game, you require 4 hits with your quarterstaff or physical attack. Once you hit an enemy 4 times, you can place, and it doesn't matter if it's a single enemy or if it's 1 hit between 4 enemies, as long as you do 4 physical attacks, you will be able to spawn it in. You drop it in front of you, and you hit said bell. Now that bell is going to send out a shockwave around it, depending on what skill gems you have, support gems you have, and what skill you're hitting it with. It will do a pulse around it with more and more damage, and it will stun enemies quite easily too. So your boss fighting technique is kind of run in, 4 hits with the quarterstaff, place the bell, hit the bell until it's heavy stunned, and then you want to hit the boss and rinse and repeat until it's dead. That's basically what you do with the quarterstaff and the bell, and it'll help you clear a lot of the bosses early on. Okay, now after you've killed the Rust Lord and you go to and you get the Tempest Bell, you want to head back to town and you want to take the rune pieces to Renly, and he's going to turn them into spikes. Now with those spikes, you want to go back to the Grelwood spawn point, and it'll obviously take you to the tree, and you want to go around the blue runes on the tree, place the spikes in, and it'll release the hooded one that's trapped up top. Once he falls to the ground, you don't need to worry about talking to Una, even though there is an exclamation mark. Just teleport back to town as soon as he drops, and they will both spawn in the house near the stash, and talk to Una. She will say that you need to go to Grim Tangle and kind of find the Count's ring. So that's what that spawn point's for. You want to go into Grim Tangle and clear the place out. The best advice I can give you for Grim Tangle is watch out for the poison. They spawn in the mushrooms. A lot of the enemies do poison, but keeping your distance from enemies using the Frozen Locust and Glacial Cascade is a must. I cannot stress it enough, and I did highlight it in my notes for a reason. It was the first time I died. It's the first time I've died on nearly every single run of mine that I've done. That poison's no joke. It will mess you up quicker than you realize. Enough. You will die. So just keep your distance and watch out. And it blocks the pathway that you need to go. Just wait for it to disappear and then go through the path. If you try and no balls it and run through the poison, you're more than likely going to die and have to reset. But once you clear through the area, you should find the Druid boss. Now, taking him out is a simple... sorry, I'm very tired this morning. Taking the boss out is as simple as using the bell, using the quarterstaff, and when you see his He does an attack where an area surrounds him. You want to get out of that because if you don't, it'll spawn you in the center of the battlefield that is laced with poison, and obviously with disgust, poison will mess you up. Other than that, it's pretty easy to take out. After you destroy the druid boss, he drops a support gem, and obviously you'll use that for whatever. It's just as a kind of a stepping tool, because it doesn't really matter too early on. It's when you get to the later skills that it really matters. But for Glacial Cascade and Frozen Locust, you kind of just want to put Cold Armament on. Now, I don't think I have the Cold Armament perk on at the moment to show you, but it basically just ups your frost damage by 25%, which that's all you're doing, so it is worth grabbing. After that, you want to navigate past him to the cemetery area, Cemetery of the Eternals or something like that. And once you're in there, you want to look for the two tombs. Now, you can clear through the area in its entirety, and you will come across a headstone with a lootable coffin, and that will drop you a random ring. If you get an iron ring, absolutely great. If you don't, it's fine. You may as well put it on, because to this point you probably won't have any rings, and it's just bonuses. There's no bad effects that you can get from rings. I've got to be careful what I say here, because there are bad effects. But it's a buff either way. Even if it doesn't exactly help you too much, it's a buff. So you may as well put it on. And it clears up an inventory spot. If you really just don't want to wear it, sell it. They usually sell for a decent amount of money. But you want to look for the two tombs of the Eternals. That is Dreyfus and Asinia's tombs. Now, Asinia is pretty straightforward. Use the bell. Use the quarterstaff. Stay close to her as much as you can. And when she summons her bone prison, just whack it with the quarterstaff and you'll get out and you can just keep hitting her. In my case, I was able to just face tank all her damage that she was doing before she died. I'm not saying that's recommended, because it can get you killed. But it's there if you want it. In terms of Dreyfus, he's a melee character too, so consider keeping your distance from him using Glacial Cascade and Frozen Locust. If you want to be confident and you kind of know how to bait his attacks, and you know his attacks well enough, you can run up to him with the quarterstaff and the bell technique and kind of just wreck him. As soon as he's heavy stunned, you pretty much can take him out before he does anything. But both the bosses will drop 2 keys, I believe. Now you want to take those keys and you want to go to the loud shouting man at the very start of the area. You can't miss him. You can hear him across the map. You unlock the gate and then he'll go through his whole spiel. You want to walk up to him and it'll say put him out of his misery. He is a very annoying boss fight as well. The only advice I can give for that boss is keep your distance, because he has too many attacks close range that will instantly kill you, essentially. I died to him 2 or 3 times a run. Like, it's not fun. And he also puts the slowing effect on the battle area that makes it even more difficult. And if you're up close and you're slowed, dead. It's simple as that. You're dead. So really keep your distance with Glacial Cascade, bait his attacks, go in, hit him a couple times, back away, hit him a couple times, back away. Just stay away from him as much as you can. But once he is dead, he will drop the count ring. You can go back to town, awaken the hooded guy, and he will serve as your Scrolls of Wisdom, essentially. And he will allow you to reset your skill tree if you've made any mistakes or you want to try something else. He is the guy for it. It all costs gold. No. Identifying an item doesn't cost anything. And he does all of them at once, so you don't have to do it individually. But resetting your skill tree does cost gold. After you've done that and you've recollected yourself, sold whatever gear you want to do, you want to head to the hunting grounds. Now, don't worry about spawn points for the hunting grounds. You automatically get it when you kill the boss. So you don't have to go through the entrance that's at the cemetery to get to the hunting grounds. Don't worry about it. I've tested it. And there are quite a few things that you want to do in the hunting grounds. Outside of clearing the area, which goes without saying, getting XP, etc., there is, right as you enter, there is a spirit boss. There is a NPC called Delwyn that you want to talk to, and he'll say, basically, the spirit has taken over the beast, and you want to hunt it, stay close to it, kill it, blah blah. You don't get anything specific from the spirit boss, but it is a decent amount of XP and experience for you in terms of combat. Because you will face a lot of those spirit bosses, and you will find this massive ritual altar. Hang on. Sorry about that, Steve's break. So you want to find the ritual spot. Now, clear all the enemies around it, because as just like the red veil things, when you activate it, it will spawn a bunch of enemies, and if you're not prepared or you're caught off guard, you're going to be screwed. And that also, when you clear it, that also drops a support gem. From there, depending on if it's around, you kind of want to follow the brick road. It'll be towards the middle of the map, so if you're lost, go towards the middle of the map and you will find this brick pathway kind of just going through the area. You want to follow that until you get to the Ogham farmlands. You want to go inside, grab the waypoint, and come back out to the hunting grounds. That's just so you don't have to worry about clearing the hunting grounds later, because the instance will reset after the next part. Towards the outsides of the area, there are outside of the hunting ground, there are 2 points of interest. One is the plant boss that gives you another support gem when it's killed. It is quite easy to defeat. And there's the Crowbell. Now, the Crowbell, you'll know it's around because you'll see the second stage area. Or I guess it's the third stage area. So you want to go in, kill the Crowbell. It's a 3-stage boss fight, meaning you'll take him down to a certain amount of HP. He'll run away, essentially become invincible to you at the earlier stages, and then he'll go to the second area. You do a bit more damage. He'll rage, become invincible again, and run to the third area. And then the third area, you can finally kill him. Now, when you do, he drops a 2 passive skill gem book. Perk point book. Now, obviously, I'll show you the perk tree, but gives you 2 more of those for free, and it is very nice. After that, depending on if you found it or not, you want to go to Fraythorn. Now, Fraythorn is another one of those things that are around the outside of the map. Don't bother looking in the middle for it. It'll never spawn there. It is around the outside. Typically the top I've found, but I think it is random. And you want to go inside. Now, Fraythorn is another one of those areas that you need to be quite careful, because the enemies inside do chaos damage. Now, I'll talk gear in a bit, but chaos damage goes through energy shield and evasion like it's nothing. Really, the only thing that saves you is invulnerability, which you don't have. So when you see purple stuff on the ground, avoid it at all costs, because it will mess you up. And if you get swarmed, you're more than likely going to die, because you're going to get hit with so much chaos damage, and reaction speeds and flasks are not going to save you. So just be very, very careful. Same as the hunting grounds and the Red Veil, you want to find these altars around the place. Now there are 3. Sometimes all 3 of them can spawn next to each other, which is quite nice. Other times, most of the time, you're going to have to look through the entire area. It is a bit of a maze, but once you clear the 3 altars, they'll spawn a bunch of mobs around you. Clear the mobs there beforehand, you know the drill by now. And then you want to find the massive altar. And that massive altar will spawn a bunch of mobs around it first, and then once you kill them, it'll spawn the boss. The boss does chaos damage as well, yet not as crazy as the normal enemies, funnily enough. But you do want to kind of keep your distance from his attacks. Use Glacial Cascade. If you know how to deal with his attacks, use the Heavy Bell. The Tempest Bell. Goes without saying. Once you kill him, things get interesting, because you get a Spirit Gem plus 30 Reserve Spirit. Now this is where I'm going to talk about Spirit a bit, because with that Spirit Gem you want to get Herald of Thunder, because I would say you get Herald of Ash because it does immediate impact, but Herald of Thunder will help later on in Act 1, and then immensely for the rest of the game. It's one of the best abilities, because it basically just gives you an attack boost and AoE attack when you shock or kill a shocked enemy, which you're using lightning attacks, you're using lightning damage, you're going to shock enemies. But for now, it won't do anything. It'll just sit like it is in mine. It'll sit there in reserve for the next part. After you've cleared Freythorn, hopefully you've grabbed the Ogham Farmlands waypoint, because if you go out of Freythorn back into the hunting grounds, it will have reset. So I see grab the waypoint. If you didn't, you're going to have to clear through the hunting grounds again, unfortunately. But once you do, you will find... Oh, and the spawn point for the farmlands will change. But follow the road, you should be able to find it if you didn't grab the waypoint. If you did, great. So you fast travel to the waypoint, and the first thing you want to do is find Una's loot. Now, if you went back to town for any reason, you'll see an exclamation mark about Luna's head that indicates that she wants you to find her loot. Ukulele, in case you were wondering. That's in her old burnt down house in the village. Now, just look around the house areas towards the start of the area, and you should find it. If not, travel a little deeper in. But when you take that loot back to Una, she will give you 2 more passive skill points, which is great. Come back and then clear through the area and find the Ogham village area. From there you want to grab the waypoint, and if you haven't played through the game before, you want to find Renly's tools. That'll be around the outskirts of the map again. It is quite a big area and it is filled with enemies, but if you have gone through the game before and you've found the tools already, you don't need to worry about it. Just go straight to the boss area or clear the area for XP. And the Executioner boss is what we're looking for. You'll know because you'll hear a lady screaming, and then you'll walk up to her and get introduced to a little cinematic before the boss fight starts. The Executioner is kind of a pushover now. He's not what he was during release, or the first week of the game at least. He does have a couple new attacks, but he does nowhere near enough damage anymore. I think people just complain that he was too difficult at that stage of the game. But once you kill him using whatever method you want, you will run up to on the wooden thing, release the girl that has been screaming, and she will thank you and then teleport out. Head back to town with her, and she will give you a level 5 skill gem. Hallelujah! That level 5 skill gem allows you to get Tempest Flurry. Now, I do have Tempest Flurry in here. I don't use it just because Stormwave's a lot better, but we'll get to that. Tempest Flurry is going to be your best friend for the next act, essentially. So, what I do typically is move the support gems from Quarterstaff Attack to Tempest Flurry, and essentially Tempest Flurry becomes my Quarterstaff Attack, if you get my meaning. It is your main attack, and it is the second strongest. It can be the strongest, but I personally give the edge to Stormwave just because of the distance. Get to that in a bit. In the game. So you want to use Tempest Flurry and the Bell to pretty much just wreck face. You're essentially a one-man army at that point, so you want to go to the Mana Ramparts, clear through the area, look out for blood puddles. They don't do as much damage as poison and chaos, but they will pop your health if you're not careful. From there, you want to fight through the ramparts and find the mansion. Now, the mansion's the last part of Act 1. You want to clear through it, and on the first floor, because there's 3 floors down, as you'll kind of see when you go through. On the first floor, there is a candle boss in kind of like a church-looking area that you want to take out. Stick behind him. That's really all the advice I can give. If you stay behind him and avoid his attacks, Tempest Flurry and the Bell will destroy him in a matter of seconds. I destroyed him in 10 seconds flat. And he'll drop something green that you'll use and will give you an extra health boost. I think it's a 10% extra health boost, something like that. So after that, you want to clear through and get to the final room and go down the elevator and confront Geonor. Now, Geonor is also quite a pushover compared to what he was during release. Even using this method, I wasn't able to do it this quickly. Now, he does this whole spiel and then jumps into the middle of the battlefield. As soon as he jumps into the middle of the battlefield, go ham. Like, you don't need to see his health bar for him to take damage. And typically, depending on what abilities he uses, you can get him to the second stage before he even finishes talking. And then, once you'll know, because you'll stop doing damage, his health bar will stop moving. Once that happens, just back away from him and avoid his attacks for a bit until he catches up, because you're not supposed to do that much damage that quickly. Once he transforms into a wolf, that's where you can go nuts again and drop him to 0. Personally, did it in about 11 seconds. The only reason it wasn't quicker is because he used his howl attack and backed off into the mist. That kind of prevented me from killing him. But yeah, once he's dead, you'll go through a cinematic with the hooded guy finally finishing him off, and then telling you to go back to town. Once you go back to town, that's Act 1 done. And it's kind of pretty easy from there. You want to talk to the hooded guy after you're done in Ogham, and he will take you to Act 2, that leads you to the desert. Now, don't bother about talking to the NPC in the desert. Kind of just follow the town out into the outskirts. You'll see kind of people fighting monsters through the outskirts. That's kind of know where you're going the right way. And clear through that area until you'll find this long snaking corridor that leads to the boss fight. And you'll see a bunch of hyenas kind of looking up at a rock. That's how you know you're in the right spot. Go up, kill the boss. It is pretty easy using the Bell and Tempest Flurry. And then head back to town and now talk to the NPC. She will give you, I believe it's a skill gem or a support gem. I'm not sure. And you'll hitch a ride on the caravan. Now that is your town area, the caravan. So keep that in mind when I'm talking. Just so there's no confusion. You'll clear through a bunch of areas. Just random areas that are pretty easy. It's just a matter of going through them. And then when you get to the mines, you'll clear through the mines and you'll come across another boss fight. who's absolutely insane and uses fire. Just stick to her. When you hear Misu in the cage yell, "Look out," kind of back off, because she'll go into a frenzy, and I'm not sure if it's changed now, but if she hits you once while she's in that frenzy, you're pretty much done. But if you manage to evade her long enough, it'll self-detonate and she will kind of fall over on herself. That gives you an opportunity to attack her. Once she's dead, you want to rescue Misu, talk to her. I cannot stress that enough. You need to talk to Misu and then go back to town, otherwise she will sit there and wait for you to talk to her, even if you have travelled back to town, and you won't be able to progress. And then there will be a bunch of NPCs, including Misu, that will talk about Traitor's Passage. Now, that's the next main area. You want to clear through Traitor's Passage, and eventually you'll find a locked door with a bunch of tags on it, and spikes into the ground that lead to a lady kind of floating in midair. That is the boss fight. That is Babala that you want to kill. I probably butchered that pronunciation, but it's fine. And once Babala's dead, you will you'll get a token off of her. Now that token is used for Ascending, and kind of just getting the Ascension perks, because I personally went, because you get 2 perk points. I personally went into Shock Effect and I Am the Thunder. You can go into Shock Effect and Evasion and Energy Shield if you need that extra defensive boost. Don't go into Lead Me Through Grace, it is not worth it. But if you don't need defensive boost, you're not dying heaps, go to Shock Effect and I Am the Thunder, and then eventually we will spec into Elemental Damage and I Shall Rage. But yeah. So you'll head back to town after you gain the token. You'll talk to a couple people that'll talk about the Jin and how she helps people ascend. And you'll unlock a new area in the map that is called the Trial of Sycamores. You can do that now if you want. So travel to the Trial of Sycamores, go through, you'll see an altar where you place down the token you got from Babala, and she will appear in front of you, she'll talk to you, she'll just talk about the whole area and what you'll be doing, and then you'll go through and clear the Ascension Trial, arriving at the boss, and then hopefully you don't lose all your honor. If you do, you just kind of have to go back to the start of the trial where the altar is, take out the token, put it back in, and go through again until you've completed it. You can't fail it, in a matter of speaking. I guess you can fail it, but you don't lose the token. You can continue doing it until you've done it, and if you feel yourself really, really struggling, consider coming back after you've done a couple in other areas in the map, because ascending, especially early, isn't exactly doesn't give you that much of a boost that you won't miss it through the other areas. And you will I completely missed something. Okay, sorry. Through Traitor's Passage, you will you'll get the token, and then you'll get out of Traitor's Passage into a different area, where you'll clear the gates for the lady, and eventually you'll end up fighting Shaman Ra, which is kind of the main boss of Act 2. After you defeat Shaman Ra, well, you don't defeat him, but you do defeat him because he runs away like a coward. Anyway, after you defeat him and you chase after him, you'll go back to town and you'll talk to the crazy lady with the that sells the potions. She's the owner of this area, if you will, and she will give you a level 7 skill gem. Now that level 7 skill gem is also massive because you gain Stormwave. And stupid me, that's why I wrote these notes, so I actually knew the progression. So I apologize in advance. The Stormwave is your key to clearing the Ascension Trials very easily, because unlike Herald, hits at a range, so, and you can increase that range obviously. So, not getting up close and personal. You can stay at a distance, kind of like you did with Glacial Cascade, and hit enemies with Stormwave. Into the boss room at the end of the Ascension Trials, you kind of don't want to use Tempest Flurry, because if he hits you, half your honor bar is going to deplete and it's not going to be worth it. If you feel like you can do it, go ahead. If you want to challenge, go ahead. I didn't. I used Stormwave because it is just that much better, and it will be our main skill moving forward. In terms of Tempest Flurry, you can keep it around, but I personally never used it because Stormwave is just that good. And yeah, you want to swap all your Tempest Flurry skills to Stormwave, and one important skill that you want to kind of look out for in terms of Stormwave is Branching Fissures. Now, if I remember correctly, Branching Fissures is a really late skill gem. Alright, it's a level 3. Now, you can use Upheaval, and I did in the main... Oh, in the first run I ever did of this build guide before I made the said build guide, I used Upheaval along with all the other perks, and it did work to an extent. Now, the difference between Upheaval and Branching Fissures is Upheaval hits 2. Hits 2 Stormwaves out in sort of a cone area, which can be nice for clearing depending on how much damage you're doing at the time, but you do gain a damage penalty and a skill speed penalty, which wasn't there beforehand when I originally did the build. But you can use it, or you can just use the single fissure. I think the single fissure with a couple other perks, support gems, works a bit better, but it is up to you. I will talk about that. Branching Fissures is the one you want, because Branching Fissures, it doesn't send out additional fissures. It sends out one that'll snake along the ground and then branch out to the sides. And if you hit enemies with the main branch plus the 2 extending branches, I know it does 40% less damage. It doesn't. I mean, it doesn't feel like it, because if you hit with all 3 of them, there's a sweet spot range where you can hit enemies with all 3 as they branch off. You just see health bars plummet, and that's kind of what I did. Upheaval, you kind of use it as per its intended purpose, where you'll sit at range and you'll kind of pop shots until they die. Branching Fissures just outright kills them. It is, and I will show that difference later on. I don't think I have a branching... Oh no, I do. Upheaval, I meant. I will show both of them off, because you kind of want to know what you're getting yourself into and the difference. But yeah, so talked about Stormwave, talked about the trial. Once you ascend, finally get the Ascension, you want to choose the Invoker path. Obviously, the Hand of Chiyula, I think it's called, is decent. You gain the ability of chaos damage and all that, but the perks just aren't really worth it. For normal builds, they can be, but for this is the amount of damage that you're doing with this build, Ascension isn't really necessary. It gives you a bit of a damage boost early on and a defense boost early on, but in-game, when you get Unbound Avatar, which is just straight up the middle branch, I don't use it. Things die before I even really get the chance. Unless I'm facing a really hard boss, I don't use it. And it does give you 40% more elemental damage and 80% more chance to inflict things like burn, shock, and chill, which are nice, or ignite, I should say. And yeah, that is nice. It can give us a bit more damage, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in the perk tree. It's not entirely worth it. But yeah, you can't, after you ascend, you kind of just want to clear through the rest of Act 2. I don't really have any notes for that bit because it's a matter of just going through the game at that point. There's no specific things that you really need to look out for or need to do. Outside of keeping your armor like top notch, and I know I've got evasion gear, just straight evasion gear, but you kind of want to mix evasion energy shield to an extent, and I'll talk about the spirit gems in a bit. To this point, I'm pretty sure you'll only have Herald of Thunder. If you get spirit gear, like I've got plus 49 spirit on this chest piece and plus 50 spirit on the necklace, which I got from the trade market. I didn't find them or craft them. Spirit gear is very difficult to come across, especially good spirit gear, but when you do get it, it opens up everything. A simple spirit chest piece, hang on. A spirit simple chest piece is pretty easy to find early on, but for the most part you'll have Herald of Thunder. If you get a spirit chest piece, you can get Herald of Ash. That basically gives you 20% of the overkill damage as ignite damage, which can be very nice. You'll just see the explosions from the Herald of Ash and Herald of Thunder go off and kind of just obliterate things. The defense spirit gems are for a bit later, and I've got a little tech that I do per se where I don't have much energy shield, and that energy shield is purely from I think it's that actually, plus 1 maximum energy shield per 12 evasion. That's, I'm pretty sure, where all my energy shield is coming from. But if you don't have energy shield, yeah, I wouldn't worry about Ghost Dance, but Wind Dancer gives you essentially 30% more evasion rating, which is great, especially for early game. But when you get these two set up, these two go hand in hand, because this one increases your evasion by 10% per stage, and you gain 3 stages max every couple seconds. So you essentially always have 30% extra evasion up, and that's not even being counted towards my 70% evasion rating now, because you don't gain those charges while you're in a passive area like town. Ghost Dance is it basically gives you energy shield back when you get hit. So you gain Ghost Shroud every 5 seconds, and to a max of 3, and when one of those Ghost Shrouds breaks or you get hit, you gain a specific amount of energy shield based on your evasion rating. Now, that's great on paper. Obviously, the more evasion rating you have, the more energy shield you recover. So I recover 747. But as you'll see in my character, I only have 244 energy shield. So it's kind of a waste. 244 energy shield is decent. It blocks a lot of attacks. And with Ghost Dance active, you gain 747. So I don't have to worry about it not generating enough energy shield when I get hit. If I get hit through my evasion, I essentially lose the energy shield to that hit and then gain it immediately. It is a very, very strong defensive setup that once you've got going is absolutely great. Now, Arctic Armor I kind of threw on here because I had extra spirit to kind of just play with. It basically just gives you extra protection. So, Icy Barrier that gains stages over time, while the barrier has stages, melee attacks that hit you will remove a stage to cause a burst of cold damage that damages the attacker. Basically, when you get hit by a melee attack, Arctic Armor, if you've got the stages, just negates it and then does cold damage to the enemy. It's basically free defense. Now, in practice, it works really well, but on paper, it's not that simple. There is a couple things that go into it. But just know that if you've got extra spirit lying around and you get Arctic Armor, you're going to have that extra layer of defense on top of Ghost Dance and Wind Dancer. And it is quite nice. But enough about that. When you finish Act 2, you'll go to Act 3. Act 3 is very straightforward, because as I've said, you've got the build kind of already made in terms of Stormwave, the defense, everything. It's kind of just a matter of continuing your passive tree and upgrading your gear to make yourself stronger. You'll notice I don't have a quarterstaff, and you're probably wondering, well, how do you have a quarterstaff if you're doing that much? I don't have a quarterstaff if you're doing that much damage. That is thanks to a little perk that we get quite early on, before the end of Act 1 in fact, Hollow Palm Technique. Now, the description reads, can attack as though using a quarterstaff while both hand slots are empty, and unarmed attacks that would use your quarterstaff gain physical damage based on their level. So, you don't need a quarterstaff, but you need to make sure your skill gems are up to date. Obviously, I've got level 16 skill gems at the moment, which is why that's doing so much damage. And it's doing more damage than you realize. I will get to that. It adds up. And 1% more attack speed per 75 evasion rating on equipped armor pieces. Now, that's why I kind of went full evasion rating towards the end. And I think one of these is giving me extra energy shield as well. But anyway, that attack speed per evasion rating is why when you look at attacks per second, I will show towards the top, I'm doing 3.13 attacks per second. Now, that's essentially, because that's damage per second, per one attack. If I'm doing 3 attacks per second, that is 3 times that. So that's 45,000 damage per second. Sure, but that's not the craziest part. As you'll see from these perks, 30% increased elemental damage if you've ignited someone recently, which we have with the Herald of Ash. 30% increased elemental damage if you've shocked an enemy recently, which we have with the Herald of Thunder. And 30% increased elemental damage if you've chilled an enemy recently. Now, That's a bit different because I am doing cold damage, but it's not much at all. It is essentially just to gain that 30% extra damage, and all of that is 90% extra damage. So, essentially double damage. If you think of 45,000 damage, we're now doing 90,000. Give or take a little bit. 90,000 damage per second. That's insanity, and I'm not even done. Because if we go down to, and you'll gain these perks later on, to Coming Calamity. 40% increased cold damage while affected by Herald of Ice. 40% increased fire damage while affected by Herald of Ash. 40% increased lightning damage while affected by Herald of Thunder. That's another 120% more damage on top of that 90-something thousand damage a second that we're doing. Now we're doing absurd amounts of damage. Now, let's go to Rage 3. Because with Rage 3, you are gaining 5 Rage on hit with a max of 30 Rage. Rage essentially gives you % more damage. Rage grants 1% more damage per 1 Rage. By default, you have a maximum 30 Rage and lose 1 Rage every 0.24 seconds. Rage loss is paused for 4 seconds upon gaining Rage or after taking damage. So, with gaining 5 Rage per hit, and yes, the Stormwave does count as a melee attack, with 5 hits, you've got 30 Rage. That's another 30% extra damage on top of what we're already doing. You're starting to see why I'm calling this the most insane lightning build on YouTube. Period. And then as an added bonus, you gain 15% increased attack speed while you're not at maximum rage. Now that's not even that's not even taking into account that I'm already doing 3 attacks per second, over 3 attacks per second. So that's 15% more attack speed before those first 5 hits, which is very fast that you get those first 5 hits, but nonetheless, you get that 50% extra attack speed on top of that 3 attacks per second. Plus, obviously, you've got the Hollow Palm technique that does 1% more attack speed per 75 item evasion rating. That also gets increased by 30% while Wind Dance is active. So, and obviously it's not showing that now because we're not in an area. So if we were in an area and we had those 3 charges, we're doing even more damage and even more attack speed. It just stacks up to be absolutely insanity. And I think that's all the stacking damage that we have. We get 20% ignite damages, overkill damage from Herald of Ash. So 20% of overkill damage depending on how much overkill damage we're doing. Since we're doing around 100,000 damage or so, probably a lot more than that to be honest, probably around 150,000. That's 20% of that 150,000, which 150,000 away 20%. That's 30,000 damage essentially. So that's an extra 30,000 damage of overkill damage on top of what we're already doing. Plus the Herald of Thunder that does 1,000 damage, nearly 2,000 damage. Not much considering what we're already doing, but it does show. Herald of Ash, don't really need to worry about. Herald of Ash is just there so we get the extra 40% damage. And yeah, that's... Oh, how could I forget? Unbound Avatar, 40% increased elemental damage while unbound. So, if you thought we weren't doing enough damage before with that crazy 150,000 or so, that's an extra 40% on top of that as well. Yeah. So if you saw this video and saw, oh, he's only doing 16,000 damage, my builds do more than that, think again. Because with everything combined, we're probably doing upwards of 200,000 damage per second. And yeah, the max of that is absolutely insanity. Now, back to the notes. In terms of Act 3, it's kind of just very straightforward. You will clear through the first area, you'll find the snake den, kind of broken down building, and you'll clear through that, you'll get the vials that you take back to the crazy lady in town. You'll know who I'm talking about. And she will give you a choice between ailment threshold, something else, and elemental and mana regen. You'll want to take 25% mana regen just because we are using so much mana in this build. Like, that's 40 mana, but we're attacking 3 times a second, so that's 120 mana per second. I've only got 701. So we are using quite a lot. Now, personally, I have where is it on? I have gear that gives me mana on kill. Leech 4% of physical damage attack as mana, which really stabilizes it. And I think that's it. Yeah, that'll be it. Which kind of stabilizes it, but kind of not. I am chewing through mana flasks during this build, and you'll kind of run into that same problem as well. Just don't go spamming your attacks willy-nilly. Like, use one attack, everything should die. If it doesn't, use another. You know, you don't need to spam them. And obviously, if you get low on mana, you use a flask. If you run out of flasks, God forbid, back off, let your mana regen, and then start attacking. There is a way through the mana kind of drainage that we end up going through the game, and you will come out with what I've got, which is essentially infinite mana. As long as you're doing damage, you're doing infinite mana. Now, when you reach the Chimera Forest, which is one of the main areas of Act 3, you will kill the Chimera and you'll gain the Chaos gem, for lack of a better word. I can't remember what it's actually called. You want to take that to the Temple of Chaos, which is also in the Chimera Forest. When you do that, you will obviously clear through that. Just like the Trial of Sycamores, you can't lose the ability to ascend with that gem. You can continue to go through it multiple times. If you fail once, which is quite easy to do, I failed on my first try as well, go back to the start, take the gem out, put it back in, open and close the door, and then go back in. And when you finally do it, you get the +2 ascendancy points that I used. Hello, Oreo. I used on Unbound Avatar. I was rocking with Chill Effect and Eye in the Blizzard, as well as Shock Effect and Eye in the Thunder for a while. It does kind of work, but I'm not doing enough cold damage to where I really care. I just need it for the perks. so I didn't worry about it. Unbound Avatar is your best chance for extra damage, essentially. And then after that, you will go through the temple that was right next to the Chimera fight, and you clear that. You'll get the giant soul gem from the boss that you face in there. You'll put that in the and you'll find an altar with a spawn point for Alva that allows you to put in the soul gem that clears the water for you to clear the area. If you play through the game, you know what I'm talking about, and you know how bad of a job I'm doing. If you don't, just play through the game and follow the objective markers. You will eventually find it. And once you clear through the waterways, you'll pull down a giant lever that will lower the water to the Shrunken City. Once you go through the Shrunken City, which is one of my favorite areas in the game, you'll come across two areas, which is the Molten Vault and the Temple of Filth. Inside the Temple of Filth, you'll clear through the area and you'll find mushrooms. There's a red, green, and blue mushroom that you need to collect. Collect them, don't leave them on the ground. And then you'll take them to this random NPC above a cooking pot that's friendly. Drop the mushrooms in the pot and the NPC will cook you up 4, I think, flasks or 2 flasks that all have quality on them. And you can either use them if they're better than the ones you have, or you can take them back to town and scrap them for the glass blowers bauble. Now, they are used, obviously, like this, to upgrade your flasks. I don't have mine max because that does 1700. I only have 1200, so I don't need to upgrade them. I just did that to show a point. And yeah, it's keeping your flasks up. Now, after you do that, you want to clear through the bolted vault. And you will face the boss at the end. After you beat him, you want to go back to town, talk to the weapons merchant that should be on the outskirts of town, and he'll give you some kind of quest reward. I can't remember what it is. And then after that, you want to go down the massive staircase back to the entrance to the Shrunken City, turn around, and you'll find Alva outside of the temple entrance. You want to put the doll thing that you got from the Temple of Filth boss in there, and you'll gain access to the temple. You'll clear through the temple, going up the stages that if you're struggling to find the exits or the stairs to the upper levels, they're around the outsides. Look in the corners and you'll eventually find them. Upon entering the 3rd floor, you'll face the Sun God. The only kind of advice I can give for the Sun God is you'll need to, when he does his charge attack, dodge roll for your life, because if you stand still and try to face tank it, you will die. The DPS on that attack is absolutely insane. Not as much as ours, obviously, but it will cook you pretty quickly. But anyway, after he's dead, Alva will appear and inspect the circle in the middle. She'll touch something that'll raise the floor. You'll end up going through the floor up to the camp, and then the portal will open. Go through the portal, and you'll enter the past Vaal City that's essentially the Shrunken City, but in its past state. And after you clear through that, you will encounter a behemoth boss, mini-boss, elite enemy, if you will, that will drop the sacrificial heart. Now, you want to take that sacrificial heart because you'll need it for 2 skill points later. Follow the kind of the main path of the first area, and you'll eventually walk into the Snake Lady boss fight that you will take out. They'll kidnap Alva, and you'll progress through the second stage, where you'll clear through the area and eventually reach the Apex, which is essentially the Temple of Filth from the past. So, you'll go up the stairs, you'll enter the Apex, and you'll go through, clear the area, and you'll want to look out for the altar for the heart. It's either in the first area or the second area. If you clear through the first area and it's not there, go towards the middle and you'll see this giant mob and the statue praising. You want to kill everything, you'll go through the gate, enter the second area, and it'll be in there somewhere. You'll know what I'm talking about because you'll see a checkpoint and an kind of a blood thing on the ground that signifies a heart to go in there. Place the heart, you'll get the cue to stab it. Once you stab it, you gain the 2 skill points, and then you'll want to clear through the rest of the area until you find the staircase down into the last area. And that you'll clear through that last area, eventually run into Doriani. You'll fight Doriani, should be able to pretty easily dispatch with him with your current skill setup, and then you will go with him back to the portal. You'll get the Cataclysm event that'll knock you out. You'll get some dialogue. You'll wake up in the village, back in the present time. You wake up, you go to Doriani, you'll talk to Doriani, you'll talk to the Hooded One, you'll talk to Alva, and then Alva will allow you to travel to the 4th act, which is, funnily enough, in an actual town. Now, I don't have notes for the 4th act, or the interludes, for that matter, because it is extremely straightforward. In terms of Act 4, the only things you really need to look out for, outside of progressing the main story, obviously, is when you go to the Eye of Henikota. Once you'll go to the Eye of Henikota, you'll do the trials, and then you'll eventually reach the resting place, I think it's called, the sacred ground. It's the second part of that Eye's area, and you'll come across these 3 altars that will all give you these tattoos. Now, depending on what you need, these tattoos will either give you 5 dex or 5 lightning resistance, and then the second one will give you 5 strength or fire resistance, and the third one will give you 5 intelligence or frost resistance. I went the resistance way, just because it's difficult to get resistances up. Obviously, you can see now I don't even have my resistances up all the way. I didn't really focus on it, but you can always get your main attributes up in terms of these main through the game. You'll eventually finish Act 4 and reach the interludes. Now, the interludes are interesting because I usually start with the Clearfell, and then I go to the Vasteri, and then I go to the Glade. Now, between the Clearfell and the Vasteri, there aren't anything of note, other than clearing through the entire area and getting everything. In the Vasteri main area outside of town, you'll run into a scorpion and a worm boss. And when you kill them, you'll go back to town and you'll talk to Risu. That'll give you 2 free skill points. That's basically all I can really give you. Actually no. When you reach you'll go through the Vasteri Interludes area, and you'll eventually reach a really dark, sandy area that's got stone walls around it. You'll eventually run into altars in that area that give you a multitude of choices. There's extra speed buff, there's global defenses, there's a few other things that just aren't worth it. Go with the global defenses. That's 15% increased defenses, which at that point you're kind of doing the damage you need to do, and you kind of want to focus on defense so you don't continue to hit one shot. If you want to go a different path, fine by me. There is an extra experience buff that you can get. Like, I think it's 5% extra experience buff, but you gain a debuff of all the other effects that are there. So instead of buffs, they become debuffs if you take the experience buff. It's not worth it in my opinion, because you gain XP at a normal rate regardless, and they're constantly buffing the rate, so why even bother? But you'll clear through the Vasteri Interlude and you'll get to the Glade. Now, you'll clear through the first area of the Glade outside of town and you'll enter this little village. Clear through the village and then you'll enter this boss fight where this nature boss is kind of waiting for you. Now, the nature boss used to be quite terrifying. In fact, I died to it like 11 times in a row and rage quit off stream in my original playthrough of it. It was not fun. But they've since nerfed her, or my builds have just become too good to deal with her. So when she dies, she'll drop another spirit gem, which gives you plus 40 spirit reserve and a spirit gem. Now, depending on what spirit gear you have, obviously I recommend upgrading your gear at every possible stage. I did it when I entered a new act. So obviously you've got your Act 1 gear where you just kind of get through. Act 2 gear, you kind of want to focus on evasion, energy shield gear. Act 3, same thing. Act 3 is where you can start getting some really nice spirit gear. And I focus primarily on evasion gear, depending on what you can get. Obviously, I can do a lot better, because that's got 900, that's got 900, but these have only got 400 or so. I could probably get 900 for these, and I'd be up even more, probably up my attacks to 5 attacks. My highest has been 6 attacks per second. So keep that in mind. You can get up to those numbers. It's just a matter of perk investment. Now, this helps. Rapid Attacks 2, that gives you a 25% increased attack speed. You can get Rapid Attacks 3, that gives you a 50%, I believe. Is it 50%? Go Rapid Attacks 3. No, it gives you 35% increased attack speed, but you also deal 50% less damage, which I haven't really played with in terms of if it's even worth it. I would say it's not, but just so you don't have to worry about. Okay, so I go from 15,000 to 8,000, and my attacks go from 3.18 to 3.3. Yeah, not worth it at all. I'd rather that. So don't worry about Rapid Attacks 3. Once you get Rapid Attacks 2, you are perfectly fine. And obviously, back to the Spirit. Depending on what Spirit gear you have and what skills you have to that point, you can essentially get everything after that boss fight. Now, you should have Herald of Thunder and Herald of Ash to that point. If you've got Spirit Gear, you'll be able to get Wind Dance and Ghost Dance. That boss fight will give you plus 40, so you'll be able to get Arctic Armor. If you've got good Spirit Gear like I do, you'll be able to get Herald of Ash. And yeah, you'll essentially have all the Spirit stuff that you need. But after that, the interlude, the third interlude, you'll enter the ice area, the twin boss that leads you, or that finishes the interludes and allows you to go to endgame. That's essentially it. I mean, in terms of skill points,
Go on. I must meditate.
I'll show you what I did in terms of the route I took. I don't have the necessary gold to do that. I will not be showing you. So in that case, through levels 1 to 17 through Act 1, you may not get to level 17, but I did. If you don't, just clear through the areas again, maybe. 17's kind of a base level for the end of Act 1. It's kind of what everyone typically averages out as. You can go a little bit under, you can go a little bit over, depending on how much clearing you do. But you want to start, obviously, getting the skill speed. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Oh no. 14, 15, 16, 17. Now, Hollow Palm technique, in fact, I may have messed that up, because, hang on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, no, I didn't. Okay, so, you won't get the Hollow Palm technique until the start of Act 2, unless you've reached level 18 through Act 1, which you can do, but I didn't end up doing. You'll just be using the quarterstaff, which, nothing wrong with the quarterstaff. Through Act 1, it's kind of overkill to have Hollow Palm technique, just because it's, you're doing enough damage to kill everything pretty quickly anyways. And then from there, going into Act 2, I went from level 17 to 39. Oh! So I'd probably go to 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33. That gives you 6 levels. You can get the attack speed buffs, obviously. That'll bring you to 36. And what you can do is go down here if you're lacking defense, get these 3 perks that gives you a nice rounded buff. That brings you to 39. And then you'll want to go from 39 to 46 across. So that'll be 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46. You kind of, I know skill gems, skill points isn't exactly, oh, the free skill points. So, never mind, you get the 2 free skill points in Act 1, so you will be able to get Hollow Palm technique. So, I'm not even going to bother with the skill tree, I just clicked that there's so many different factors towards levels and all that it's kind of redundant to show you what levels I took. In terms of Act 1, you just want to get Hollow Palm Technique as soon as possible, and then after that you'll want to go up here and get all the elemental damage, and then after that you kind of just want to flesh out the rest. Now, don't fall into the trap I did with this. You'll come across here and you'll be like, oh, what's this? And then you'll see, oh my god, attack speed with quarterstaffs and all these other juicy perks, and you'll be like, oh my god, why is he not getting this? He's so dumb. No, because that is with quarterstaffs, and it's very specific when it comes to that. So for these to actually work, you need to have a quarterstaff equipped, meaning you can't get Hollow Palm Technique, or you can't use them in tandem, because if you get Hollow Palm Technique and you're using a quarterstaff, you're losing out on a lot. If you don't get Hollow Palm Technique and you go the quarterstaff route, you're going to make things a lot more difficult for yourself, because you are missing out on the free damage essentially, and the attack speed per evasion rating. Now, you can go that route if you would like. I personally wouldn't advise it, but if you want to go somewhere different, obviously this is a guideline. If you want to go somewhere different, be my guest. I mean, let me know how it works out. I don't know why I put a skill point up here. I think I was just bored and had nothing else to really put it in. Oh, I was probably going with lightning damage, actually. That's, yeah. So, you kind of just want to continue. Go for defense of perks like these when you need them. Obviously down here there's defense as well. I grabbed these quite late, just because through Acts 1, 2, and halfway through Act 3, kind of, you don't need any defensive perks. You're doing enough damage and you're keeping your distance to where you don't need them. And yeah, so you want to eventually come down here after fleshing out this lightning tree. This basically just gives you a bunch of extra lightning damage, and extra damage is cold damage and lightning damage, and a free plus 10 dexterity, so why not? I experimented with this a bit. Penetrates lightning resistance, which basically 6, 12, 30, that's an extra 30% lightning resistance penetration, which in turn basically means 30% extra lightning damage, because if they don't have lightning resistance, it basically becomes extra damage per percentage. If they do have lightning resistance, you'll just be doing more damage through that lightning resistance. And there is a perk in, I think it's called Exposure, that essentially gives you an extra 30% extra lightning damage through resistance, which adds on to that already 30%, so you do 60% resistance as 60% damage. But for the amount of perks that you have to use and skill gems that you kind of have to give up in order to get that 60%, I would rather flesh it out into these that give you flat without the need for those other extra bits, because that's 60% elemental damage just there, plus the extra 30%. We've been over this. Anyway, you want to come down here, and this will be where Act 3, end of Act 3, start of Act 4, where you'll kind of reach down here. And I got this just for the evasion rating, just adding to the defense. There's nothing. If you've got enough attack power, there's nothing wrong with going with a bit of extra defense, just so you don't worry about dying. I got this lightning damage just because it's 10% increased lightning damage. You can go along this tree that gives you an extra 10% through 2 perk points. I didn't find it worth it. And electrocution build-up, you don't use electrocution build-up. And then obviously Herald damage. So 12% increased damage while affected by Herald. We're affected by 3, although not that it matters. Increased 12%. The 40% while affected by all 3 heralds that you're obviously in. If you don't want to go with a defense setup with the spirit gems that I've got with, you can go with this. Now, this doesn't do anything, the extra chaos damage with the Herald of Plague, just because we're not doing that. But the 40% increased physical damage while Herald of Blood, you can go with that. I experimented with it a little bit. I didn't find it to be that useful. But again, if you want to experiment, go nuts, because it is there. And you'll come down here. This is honestly just through the interludes where I had nothing I really wanted to spec into. I found this little evasion tree that gives plus 30%, plus 10% deflection rating, and plus 40% increased evasion rating while moving, which is great. If you're dodge rolling, you get that 40% increase evasion rating. And the deflection rating, for those who are new to the game, deflection is a new stat that they added in, not recently, but a little while ago, that basically allows evasion to be a bit better. So with the perk tree I've got set up now, I got a 50% chance to deflect damage coming my way, and 50% chance to deflect 40% damage. It's just nice defense to have, you know? If you don't want to go with that, you want to go with something else, be my guest. There's also this tree that's just flat increase attack damage, 25% increase attack damage, 8% and 10%. So that is nice. Attacks have 25% chance to maim on hit. It's not great. Maiming just means they move 30% slower and they have a 15% less evasion rating. You do more damage more consistently, I suppose, and enemies move a bit slower, but in terms of moving, if an enemy's moving, you can usually keep up, and if you can't keep up, you're not going to keep up. So, I don't see the point. Obviously, I've also moved these skill gems. These little jewels are random. Now I've got global 15 or 13% increased physical damage and 10% increased melee damage. I'm really lucky to have gotten that. And then obviously 13% increased chance to shock. Meh. Recover 1% max life on kill, which is nice. Just extra survivability. And 6% increased area of effect. Meh. Obviously I'm not done. Like this build's got a lot to go, but this is in-game. Essentially, this is the end of the build where I got to in-game. And feel free to slow it down, pause, whatever you need to do to spec out your skill trees. And you've kind of got the baseline, the finished product of what I went with. If you want to go with something different, obviously feel free. If you're watching the streams and you've seen the perk choices that I made, it does look a bit different to this, because this is my finalized perk tree, everything done and upgraded to its max, except for my skill gem that got removed for some reason. But yeah, all that in conclusion creates one of the strongest builds in the game. Now, I will show you the difference between branching fissures and upheaval. Where can I go? I guess that's not really worth... Okay, I'll just go to this. It's, in terms of damage, it's not an accurate representation. but it will allow me to show the difference between these two perks. So this is what Branching Fishes does. As you can see, it'll shoot one main branch and then branch off in different directions. It is random, but if you can get the enemy within, like, a distance within the boss where you can hit all of those fishes, you're going to be doing insane damage. Now, this is what the Upheaval 1 does. As you can see, it shoots 2 out like that. Now, I used that for a little bit. It wasn't exactly great. And then obviously Upheaval 3 shoots 3 of them, which it does. Like, I'm not even one-shotting these guys, just because I'm doing that 40% less damage. And if I chuck Branching Fishes on instead, you'll see just an insane difference in terms of damage. And obviously, I've got all the heralds activating at once as well. That's the difference between Upheaval and Branching Fishes. Now, Branching Fishes you won't get until you get a level 3 support gem, which can be a bit later on. But until then, Upheaval is a decent option. If you don't want to go with Upheaval, you can obviously go with different things, depending on the what are they called? Depending on the jeweler orbs that you have. Obviously, I've had a couple perfects. I've got greats and lessers just because I've got the awesome quartz to do so, the exalts. In terms of baseline, I'll show you what I've got, and you can, depending on what you have at the time, you can go off that. Tempest Flurry, I think I said this before, rapid attacks, elemental armament is what you want in Tempest Flurry. And since you're moving on from Tempest Flurry very quickly in like Act 2, you don't really need to worry about too much in terms of upgrading to 3 slots, 4 slots, or even 5 slots, or even 6. I mean, 2 by default. Now, if you have a lesser jeweler orb, you can get 3. Greater jeweler orb, you can get 4. Perfect jeweler orb, you can get 5. And if you do all of that and then get lucky with a corruption, which you use the Val orbs to do, you can get the chance to get an extra one. Now, that didn't work, I just got an extra level, but you can get an extra slot from corrupting, means you can get 6, which I don't currently have. I might work on that if I end up coming back to this build eventually. But yeah, you can increase this even further and get another perk gem, support gem. But in terms of baseline, for Stormwave, rapid attacks, and this is in terms of importance too, rapid attacks, elemental armament 2nd, branching fishes 3rd, rage, any level of rage, obviously it doesn't really matter, but rage 3 is the most efficient, and then blind. Blind is something I didn't talk about, just because it goes hand in hand with evasion. Essentially hitting someone, they do less accuracy for 4 seconds, and then 20% increased effect as well with blind 2. So you're going to be getting hit less. I've also got blind on Wind Dancer, and I had it on Herald of Thunder, but I don't anymore. But have blind on your main attack. It will help out your evasion. You'll feel like you've got way more evasion than you already do with blind active. And then for Herald of Thunder, obviously it depends on how many perk points you have. Elemental Armament is the first thing you should get. Concentrated Area Now, you can make an argument for magnified area being the first thing you should get with that extra area of effect, but in practice, concentrated area, you do less area of effect, but you do more damage. That's kind of what we want early on. Obviously, when you get a jeweler orb and you get 3 for the Herald of Thunder, you can put magnified area on anyways, and then you've got both of them, and they kind of cancel each other out. I mean, with both of them, the level 2s, you essentially have 30% increased area of damage and -5 area of effect. So you're not losing area of effect, but you're not really gaining it. Elemental Focus is something it's really niche. I mean, you don't really need to have it. You could probably swap this out for something better. But it is a flat 25% increased elemental damage buff. The only problem is Herald of Thunder cannot ignite, chill, freeze, shock, or electrocute, which we don't need it to. I mean, Shockwave does everything for that. I mean, it does... Shockwave does shock chance. My shock chance is extremely low, but that's fine. Chill chance is whenever you do a certain amount of cold damage, which we are doing, and then ignite damage we are doing with the Herald of Ash. That automatically does ignite damage, so you don't need to worry about that. And then for Ghost Dance, the only thing you need is compressed duration, which, as it says, it reduces the time between ghost rounds. So right now it's 4.7 seconds, and without it, it is 6.8. So it is really nice to have that, and as a single perk point, you don't need to invest any jeweler orbs into it. It's just nice to have that there. Wind Dancer, really personal preference. I mean, you could honestly go without any support gems on Wind Dancer, just because it does what it does. I personally have magnified area just so because when hit, it pushes enemies back with Gale Force. That just makes it go a little bit further, and then blind obviously blinds them as well, just for that extra blind. Doesn't really matter, it's just if something gets behind you and hits you, it blinds them. Arctic Armor, I've just got clarity on. Now look out, because some support gems on skills will increase spirit reservation. I have enough spirit to where it doesn't matter, and clarity just gives me an increased 30% mana regenerate, which we talked about earlier being a little bit of a problem, especially early game. That kind of helps it, but it's not really that big of an issue. Herald of Ash, concentrated area, magnified area, same as Herald of Thunder. Now, you can put elemental armament on Herald of Ash, but as it doesn't have a damage stat, you kind of don't even know what it really does. And I think because damage is based on overkill damage, it doesn't really matter. So I just put Fire Mastery on, which increases the level of the skill, which I believe increases the overkill damage. 23.3. Yeah, by a tiny margin. It's not really that important. And Unbound Avatar, increase prolonged duration for the increased duration, just because it does run out rather quickly, and cooldown recovery rate, increased cooldown recovery rate. Basically means you can, like, when you use Unbound Avatar, it has a timer after it runs out that you can use it again, given that you actually get that much spirit energy to begin with to use it. But that just reduces the recovery rate. It's negligible, honestly. I've just got it there because, you know, a buff is nice. In terms of gear, as you saw before, I've got full evasion rating because it just gives that extra attack speed. Plus I've got attack speed on my gloves that obviously just gives that nice boost. Spirit necklace, spirit chest piece, you're gonna want to get that as quick as possible because it allows you to get Ghost Dance and Wind Dancer and Arctic Armor all set up quicker. If you don't get that, you're gonna have to wait till the interludes, the end of the interludes, near endgame to do so, and by that point, doesn't really matter. But yeah, Inscribed Ultimatum. That's the word. The Inscribed Ultimatum is what you get from the Chimera fight that you use in the Chaos Trials. But I'm sure when you pick it up, you'll read the description, and you'll know that. You don't need me to tell you that. Other things, I guess, make sure you upgrade your quality on your gear as much as possible. You always want your gear to the highest quality. Don't worry about the flasks. I mean, 300 mana and 1700 life. I have 700 mana, but I don't use it to the point where I need to use a bunch of flasks anymore, so that doesn't really matter. Life, I've got less life than my flask actually regenerates, so it's kind of just, if you see your health drop and you panic flask, you don't need to do that as much, because if you use one flask, you'll regen all your health back, and it's quicker, obviously. The more health, over health is there, the quicker your health will regen, and then the more, over that 3 seconds, it'll keep regening if you keep taking damage, until obviously you've used all that life. So if you're getting hit constantly and you use a health flask, you can save yourself by regenning up and then continuing to regen while taking damage from one flask. I have 7 flask charges. You can get quite a lot more, but I just don't have that that flask yet, or will have. In terms of runes, kind of straightforward. When you have a quarterstaff, you're gonna want to use the storm runes on your quarterstaff, just for that extra lightning damage. You're not going to be able to use a greater storm rune, but I don't think I have a lesser storm rune to show you. You can use iron runes for the extra physical damage on your quarterstaff, but I would recommend using it for armor, like I've done here. I've got all these iron runes on my armor that increase evasion. That's partially why I have it up so high in the first place. And your belt's really just whatever you're lacking. If you're lacking mana recovery rate, mana regen rate, get a belt with mana regen rate. If you're lacking any one specific attribute, for me it was strength, get one with strength. If you're lacking resistances, get one with resistance. That's got 34% fire resistance, and that's why I have 35% fire resistance. Although I had less than that, it's just because I've gone into a lower zone that it's gone up. But yeah, that's, after a very long-winded nearly 2 hours, that is basically the build. I'm not sure if this is going to be easy to follow along at all. I don't know if I did a really good job. You guys will let me know down in the comments. For those who wanted a build guide, I apologize in advance. This is the closest I can get to a build guide without the editing software, because I don't have the clips to be able to show you everything at the certain points. But I have given you the base of the build. I have given you all my support gems. I've given you the passive tree, kind of what to look out for, and where you can go a different way if you would like. But yeah, that's essentially it. I mean, I will try have a more concrete guide on Metabolics. If you guys are familiar with Metabolics, it is a website where people can create builds. It's not available via mobile, so I'll try and create one with my Chromebook or with someone else's computer. We'll have to see. But when I do finally create that, it will be in the description. So look out for that. And yeah, I mean, there's nothing really else to say. So, without further ado, for those who tuned in, I hope you enjoyed. For those who tune in the future, I hope you enjoy. And until next time, this is Dark Horse, and this has been a really long-winded build guide. I hope you guys enjoy the effort that I put into this, because it did take quite a while of note-taking to get this done. And I'll see y'all in the next stream.